though we're in the middle of lockdown. Tell me, how is a father with two little ones, the youngest one only a few weeks old, basically, coping, working from home with lockdown?
Well, little sleep, but they're still alive, so that's a good one. And but it's tough, yeah. So doing all the regular household and yard chores ourselves for the last few weeks already, and a little baby that's struggling to sleep. So thoughts and prayers, please. And then also working until late hours of the night. My work hasn't stopped, so it's not the easiest of times.
Wow. Our condolences and sincere sympathies. So my kids are luckily a little bit older, but yes, it's definitely challenging, and there's some serious bonding and quality time taking place as well. Drikus, besides being a LifeWork alum and even a former coach or group facilitator for us, you're also the CEO of Capicraft. And I don't know if I should call you an economist or a fortune teller or someone with a crystal ball that can predict exactly what's going to happen in our economy. Probably not. Tell us a little bit. What is Capicraft Investment Partners, and what is it that you guys do?
So we're an investment manager, boutique investment manager, boutique outfit, and we do global investment portfolios for our net worth individuals and institutions. And we do that on a multi-asset and multi-strategy level. So that depends on what your objectives are, and then we can craft a portfolio around your objectives and needs. So that's what we do, and we've got a global scope, multi-asset, multi-strategy.
How would you define your ideal client?
Ideal clients, big clients. That's the ideal client. No, I'm joking. No, the ideal client in my world is one that does not have to pay tax. Firstly, that simplifies our process a lot, and one with a very, very long-term investment horizon. And the only type of entity that fits that bill is your typical endowment fund. In an American sense, in SA terms, that will be an Article 80A investment company with the aim of paying out proceeds to charity over time. Typically, those with a long-term investment horizon. And with that very long-term investment horizon, and the fact that you do not have to pay any tax, that's the best way to deliver exceptional investment returns.
So has Corona or this current lockdown in South Africa affected your business and the industry as a whole at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So global markets has gone into a tailspin earlier in March because of the coronavirus. This is the fastest sell-off that we've seen in history, basically, going back to 1929 at least, the fastest 30% sell-off in global markets in history, basically. It's not the deepest, however. We've had far worse before. I've lived through the global financial crisis where we saw 50% dip in global indices, most global indices. So this is not the global financial crisis in that sense, but it's been tough, and we've had a bit of a rebound. There's a bit of what we call the relief rally. I don't think it's going to last that long. There's still a lot of bad stuff out there that needs to be discounted by the market. But yeah, it's been hectic the last month or two. Very little sleep, long hours of work, and trying to add value to all of this. But we've been blessed. We've had the inflow of business during this time. Clients that are willing to commit money, seeing this as I see it as a generational buying opportunity into global markets. And I'm blessed to have clients that has that long-term and kind of view. So we've had inflows actually that has mitigated the blow that we would have had otherwise. And our positioning was quite conservative beforehand. not because we expect something like this would happen, just because we couldn't find anything to buy, or enough stuff to buy. So we had quite a bit of cash going into this, and we've had the good fortune of having that cash on hand to spend into these difficult markets. As I said, I think this is a generational buying opportunity. I don't know where the bottom is or how long this is going to last, but at one time or another, you must commit to something and take a long-term view.
Recently, friends and colleagues, fellow business people I've spoken to have all agreed that it's as if a global reset button has been pressed, and everyone seems to agree that it won't be business as usual going forward. So is there any specific lessons you've learned, or would you and your business be doing business differently post-lockdown?
No, I don't think so. I think one thing that I think I would do more, that I'm learning out of this, is communicating with clients. So I think I will be communicating more with clients, directly and indirectly. But I don't think so. I think human nature doesn't change overnight. It might change for a period of time due to circumstances. And you've got all these, let's call it, prophecies going around on social media, etc., LinkedIn, Twitter, and you've got guys talking about what changes this is going to bring about post-COVID. And I'm just willing to take the other side of most of those bets, because human nature doesn't change. In 1918, you had the end of World War I, and just after that, you had the Spanish flu, which killed 50 million people worldwide. And they were much worse than COVID would ever do. And basically, just after that, we had the Roaring 20s. So human nature doesn't change. Just after 9/11, you had Americans avoiding air traffic and avoiding hotels in the Washington, D.C. area for one. And it only took about 12 to 18 months for all of those for the whole hospitality industry to return to activity levels that they saw beforehand. So once a danger, the imminent danger that puts us into this position disappears, animal spirits, as we call it, will be released once more, and people will once again, want to buy that new car, and they would want to replace the fridge that's been bugging them, and etc. So human nature doesn't change overnight. The only thing that changes human nature is Jesus Christ. So without that, the human nature is incentive driven and very self-centered individual most of the times, and that is how the system is built, and that's the one thing that I will bet on. Instead of thinking about all the things that will change, I try to think about what will not change in 5 years' time, and I think that leads to better business and investment outcomes in the longer term.
Sounds to me like you're saying, as far as business advice is concerned, it's almost back to basics. You mentioned client communication, clear, concise, happening on a regular basis. So maybe this time, we could even use during lockdown, and maybe that's what partially you're also spending your time on late into the wee hours of the morning, just getting your internal systems set up, and getting the admin dusted off, and preparing for positive outcomes even post lockdown. Sounds to me like you're positive, towards the future of South Africa and even our economy. So you're not expecting this global recession?
Unfortunately not. This is definitely going to be a global recession. The thing is, in my world, we tend to lead, economic outcomes. So my environment has been difficult for 5 years in the South African context. The investment environment in South Africa has been difficult for at least 5 years. and the market has been pricing in the economic situation that we're sitting in. I think for all intents and purposes, our current economic environment in South Africa is comparable to the Great Depression, and whether you look at unemployment figures, etc., it all points to one thing, and it's we're in a prolonged recession, if not a depression. So it's going to get worse in the short term, unfortunately. And even when the lockdown is lifted, people aren't going to go back to restaurants and places where people gather immediately. Some of us will, absolutely. Some of us will be willing to take that chance, but it will take some time, months, not weeks, before business continues to, back to normal. And I see the best case scenarios puts the world economic activity back to pre-COVID levels only about at June, July next year. So keep that in mind. You have to think in terms of months, not weeks, but over the course of the next few weeks and months, and over the short term, we will right-size our response to COVID, which at the moment has been draconian, and it's like driving the economy at 250 kilometers per hour into a brick wall. We will right-size that. We can't keep the economy locked down like this. This will cause riots within months, if not total anarchy. But with or without that, the problem in SA is that we lack the amount or the fiscal ability to respond to this, to the lockdown period, etc., to the smash that we have at the moment. That other developed markets and even other developing markets, have to their disposal. We're already in a precarious economic and a fiscal position before this. And this might just be the tipping point for South African or for the fiscal situation. With that having been said, maybe this is the way to a better South Africa going forward. This is what gives me hope. I've always said that I've got a lot of hope for South Africa, but that hope is going to be deferred because things need to get more painful before they get better.
Any advice for business leaders or business owners, investors possibly in these uncertain times? I know you guys do a lot of scenario planning. Some do's or don'ts currently or going out of this lockdown soon?
So yeah, what you can do is you can do a bit of scenario planning. What happens if the lockdown is extended for another month? Will your business make it or not? That's the easiest. That's a worst case scenario. And what happens if this worst case scenario is, will I be able to make it? Will I be able to pay? And, don't go out on a limb and say, we'll go out in faith. That's not faithful at all. That's not good stewardship. Run a bad case scenario or worst case scenario and ask yourself what's going to happen when this hits to my business and my family, and plan accordingly. Okay, so I'm not saying be a prepper and go out into the Karoo and store ammunition. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying just be realistic. This can take longer than you think, but it will pass. And if you can survive, you should try and survive, because at the other side there is a lot of light at the end of the tunnel. So my best advice, and we've for the last 5 years I've thought about closing shop at least 5 times, and it's been a difficult environment. And I have closed other businesses in the past that didn't make it, but it's just hang in there and stay in the game, stay in the seat. You've stayed long enough to get unlucky, because you're pretty unlucky that this is it. Stay long enough to get blessed. Maybe it's just around the corner. If you stay long enough in any game, you will get lucky. Or maybe you've just had a long streak of luck, and your business isn't based on sound principles, and you need to start doing things differently. And now that the reality of the real world is hit, you can do a bit of introspection and realign your business with what can be regarded as best practices, or do things differently. I don't know, but I think each of us need to do introspection. Am I doing the right thing? It doesn't need, you don't have to, or I don't think it's prudent to hang on to something that isn't purpose driven, you know. And that's a conversation that has to happen between you and God. Is this what I'm doing? Does it deliver a purpose in my life? And if not, you know, why continue with this? Find something that has purpose. Maybe this is the ideal situation to quit with something that hasn't got the purpose that you once thought it had. Maybe it's the opportunity to refine that purpose and double down on what you're already doing. But all these are conversations that needs to happen between you and God, and maybe something like a life coach, you know, as a third party.
Last question. As a Christian, is there anything in particular you're hearing the Lord saying to you, or, you know, maybe something inspirational you've read or come across recently?
The Lord keeps bringing me back to the psalm that says, hope deferred makes the heart sick, but it basically says after that, but if you stick with that hope and, you know, it's delivered, then you can rejoice. And he keeps talking to me about not losing hope and hoping. If you go through how the book of Hebrews talks about how all those people of faith, you know, kept faith, and never having seen the result of their faith, only in eternity they saw that. You know, the question is, on what is your hope based? Is your hope based on a nice second family home, or just keeping your current mortgage afloat? Is it on a new car? Is it just on that nice vacation? I don't know. What is your hope? Is it on a bigger business? There's so many stuff, you know. And Timothy Keller talks about the 4 idols in one's life. One of them being comfort, the other being affirmation or something like that, security and power. Which is yours? Is your hope based? Is your hope there to indulge in your idols, or is your hope based on something more than that? So and that hope deferred, if you can keep the hope, that keeps you alive. That keeps you from discouragement. That keeps you from giving up. But the question once again is that, and that's what each believer should, you know, take that question to the Lord again. What is your hope in? Or better, even, whom is your hope in?
Our hope is in the Lord. Thank you so much, Drikus, for your time. We wish you well, and as family, enjoy that quality time. And we'll also be praying for Capicraft Investment Partners. May your business also thrive amidst of these uncertain times. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Ruan.